So, one thing that we discussed was just having employees have more of a say in their incentive systems to a degree. So, in situations where, say, monetary incentives are not available or may not be as reinforcing, it can be helpful to give employees choices to see like what they would be motivated to work towards. I know recently we had a lot of changes with our monetary reward system and bonus structure for RBTs and BCBAs. And leadership is really not wanting to give any additional monetary reinforcement systems. Or have any more monetary reinforcement systems in place, unfortunately, which is it's unfortunate. But all the regional directors have been meeting to kind of advocate for like different um, reinforcement systems that may be incentivizing for the BCBAs or RBTs. So we discussed things like more work from home days or maybe accumulating more PTO, having like a lunch bought for them or swag or whatever the case is. So unfortunately, many of these items may not be as motivating as money, but when organizations start making those large cuts, you kind of have to make do with what you have. As far as giving employees just choices in like the way that they're doing work or the order of task, I think it depends on a few things. I think one of the biggest things it depends on is number one, what the task is, but number two, who the employee is and how dependable they are. Since I do lead BCBAs, I've had some BCBAs who I trust a lot, and I trust that if I just give you this task, I don't care how you do it, I don't care how you get it done. I trust that you're going to do what you say that you're going to do because I've experienced that in the past, right? But I've had other BCBAs who are not as trustworthy and they've said they're going to do a lot of things and just things aren't getting done, tasks aren't prioritized as they're needed. So I find myself having to tell those specific BCBAs exactly what needs to be prioritized, what needs to be done, how it should be done. But I usually finally get to that point after you've shown me multiple times that this is a skill, a area of deficit in your skills, and this like you need specific instruction. I know one of my classmates mentioned that they'll give the client information and allow RBTs to kind of choose who like what client that they're working with. So I agree with this to an extent. I just find that the challenge with that is that you start to see that there's a huge gap when it comes to finding RBTs for clients that really need the help. So, if you have a 13-year-old boy, right, who maybe has higher behaviors, some RBTs may not want to work with that, right? So now this 13-year-old boy is suffering and not getting the services he needs because we prematurely kind of judged him and not given him the opportunity to have a good RBT on his team because he's essentially not getting picked. Um, so I remember I was doing an interview one day with the BCBA, and she was saying she only works with kids up to 5 years old. And she absolutely will not. And she was about to sit for the exam, so she wasn't really a BCBA yet, but we're proactively hiring. And she was very, very adamant about she will not work with individuals over the age of 5. And I said, well, this isn't the place for you because we service kiddos up to 21. But with that mindset, I'm sure that it'll change at some point as she becomes a BCBA. With that mindset, you're not going to be able to really service uh, a big group of people. So I think choices within the workplace, within reason, just depending on the situation and the employee and their past histories. So I know we talked just about the different components of behavioral economics in the workplace, and one thing mentioned on the list is goal setting. And one thing my director always kind of challenges me is like seeing how we can get BCBAs to create their own goals and like bring them into their goal setting process. Because when I get to the point where I'm putting a BCBA on a PIP or a policy review or written warning, I'm typically giving them very specific things that they need to meet. And she always kind of encourages when the opportunity presents itself or when appropriate, how can we invite the BCBA to partner with their goal? Like, hey, what areas do you feel like you're lacking, and what's your plan to meet these metrics, or continue to meet these metrics or exceed them. So yeah.